time to Ask Jack. And here he is live on Tuesday morning, Jack Tretton. Jack, it is great. Thank you so much for taking the time to come by and chat with us and everyone watching around the world.
Always a pleasure to see you, Jeff, although I feel underdressed. I should have tied it up this morning.
I don't know, tie last night. You were looking good, casual.
Yeah,
and the people, Jack.
And you show me up.
Okay, please. Well, let's look at the Big Three leaderboard, because there's some good news for you guys this morning. This is tracking all of the social conversation. And now you guys are in the lead. You pulled ahead of Microsoft and Xbox 360 beyond the big David Cage game as the #1 talked about thing on the internet. Over 40,000 mentions on Twitter for the press conference. It sounds like the fans liked what you had to show.
Well, perfect example of what I talked about last night. This is the Super Bowl for our industry. We've got the most passionate consumers in the world, and it was just so great to get up there and focus on gaming, because that's what I enjoy most about the business, and that's what we were talking about.
No, you guys had some amazing announcements, and one of the things I think is really interesting is that you announced Beyond from David Cage. You showed Last of Us. You've got new intellectual property, new worlds that you guys are announcing very late in the console cycle, and typically a lot of these game companies, they don't do that. The conventional thinking is you launch a new franchise with the start of a new console generation. Why are you guys changing the equation?
Well, I'm so glad you picked up on that. I don't really feel like it's changing the equation. I mean, we've talked about the 10-year product life cycle back to the original PlayStation, and you have to climb that technology curve if you're a developer, and the consumer invests their money. And this is the time when the value is the best, and it's my favorite part of the console life cycle. We tend to have very long peaks, and this is when you can just focus on building great games and letting the consumer reap that investment that they made by having great gaming experiences.
And you had PlayStation All-Stars as well with the announcement of Big Daddy and Nathan Drake. Is Jack Tretton going to be a playable character?
I don't think anybody picked me, but it's really cool to see when you're playing it with your friends and playing it with a lot of guys at work. I instantly go to Kratos, but I mean, there's something pretty cool about kicking people's butt with Fat Prince.
A Vita version of that. One thing, when I was talking on Twitter to the fans this morning, everyone was, I think, disappointed that there wasn't more news about big new Vita games. Obviously, Vita, I think has been struggling a little bit in terms of its sales, and the fans are like, we wanted more big games announced for Vita, and they talked about Call of Duty, they didn't show it. There wasn't a ton of original first-party games showing. What can you tell the fans to reassure them that Vita is going to be, a big commitment for Sony?
Sure. I mean, I appreciate that opportunity. The biggest challenge that we have is you get an hour and 15 minutes to talk about all the things we have going on, and we tried to cut all the fat out of there and just stick to the meat. But the great news for the Vita fans, there's already 40+ new games for a platform that's 4 months old. There's 60 new games coming, so we'll have over 100 new full-blown games within the first year. And I think the other great thing about Vita, again, we're talking about long-term life cycles, and people have to stick with us and realize we're 4 months into this whole thing. But when you tap into the PS1 classics and the PSP games and all the digital offerings, there are hundreds of games that you could play on Vita today. And we'll have the Call of Duties, we'll have the Assassin's Creeds, we'll have Little Big Planet, we'll have PlayStation All-Stars. There are big beat hits coming all along, and I would like people to take some time to focus on the 40+ great games that are already out there. Resistance just shipped, Mortal Kombat has just been out there, Uncharted's been phenomenal. So I mean, for a 4-month-old platform, I really feel good about where we are with Vita, and I would hope that if people compared it to previous offerings in its first 4 months and what the outlook is for the next 6 to 8 months, it would compare very favorably.
Well, we'll have to see what happens with Vita. You guys are obviously, still betting big on PlayStation 3. When you think, about E3, it's interesting now that people are talking more about entertainment applications. They're talking more about mobile. The industry is sort of growing and changing, and you guys are obviously very focused on the gamer. Where do you see sort of, Sony's positioning going forward? I mean, a lot of people, we've heard the news about the stock not doing particularly great right now. People wondering, where is Sony going to go? I mean, you can't obviously announce anything, but I mean, will there be a PlayStation 4 one day?
Well, I can tell you the thing I think about all the time is go back to our roots in 1995 when I joined the company, and the name Sony Computer Entertainment. I mean, it is the computer entertainment business that's the basis to what we do. And the name PlayStation, the power of a workstation for play, that is our mantra 17 years later. We're all about gaming. Gaming is our DNA, but it is a device that it's going to do a lot more. It's going to have a lot of entertainment, but at its core foundation, it is a gaming machine for the core gamer, and it's going to live or die on our ability to keep those consumers interested. And I think that's what we're focused on. So in every platform we do, long-term life cycles, diversity, and coming up with those key franchises that are going to keep people interested in our platform. That's been, really the focus through 3 consoles, through 2 portables, and it'll clearly be our focus going forward in the next generation. generation.
Now, we're seeing a lot of interesting games showing that look like almost next-gen games, that they're high-end PC games. People are getting ready to make a leap. For Sony, when you think about where you guys want to go in the future, how important will it be for you guys to, not come out after the next Xbox, which is something that, happened in the last generation, and I think was, a lot of people say could have been a contributing factor to where you guys are at now?
Well, I mean, I think, if you look back at history, very difficult for multiple companies to repeat generation after generation. A lot of companies slip. We've tended to have great staying power. We've tended to be relevant on a worldwide basis, and we've tended to really sustain long-term product life cycles. And I think you'll see that from us going forward. I mean, when you look at games like The Last of Us and beyond, I mean, you can talk all day long, but the proof is in the pudding when you see the games that are out there. So, that's really the focus for us: sustain long-term platform, keeping that consumer engaged and loyal to the brand.
So does it matter to you being first or being second? Or that's,
oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, I think you look back again on history, we've never been first. We've never been cheapest. It's about being the best, and I think if you can build a better machine and it's going to come out a little bit later, that's better than rushing something to market that's going to run out of gas for the long term. So I think, ideally, in a perfect world, you want the best machine that ships first, that's cheapest.
Right.
But, the #1 goal is to be the best machine, and that's what we're always focused on.
Well, and things are changing now, because, I mean, Wii U, some people are, we'll see it in about a half hour, but I mean, people are saying, is this the same power as a PS3 and 360 now, but Nintendo's saying this is next generation? I mean, it's hard to see how this is all going to shake out, I guess, right?
Well, I think gamers have more choices than they ever did before, and anything that's good for gaming is good for companies that are in the gaming business. So I like the fact that people are taking a number of different angles to it. But at the end of the day, I look at the core gamer and I say, if you're happy, I'm happy. If you're not, we're in trouble.
Well, you guys definitely do have some amazing games coming up with, Last of Us, God of War Ascension, a lot of things happening in the PlayStation world. One thing that we've been talking about, is coming up in this interview, we've been talking for 6 years about Agent from Rockstar. Last year you said maybe it wasn't still PS3 exclusive. Any updates? Does that game still exist?
You couldn't have said it better when you said Agent from Rockstar.
Right.
I work for Sony Computer Entertainment. The minute I start working for Rockstar,
Yes.
I'll have some definitive information for you on Agent. But I'd suggest you interview one of those great guys.
I should give those guys a call.
Yes, you should.
That's
what I've said for the last 5 years, and I continue to suggest you do that.
All right. Well, we've got. Are third-party exclusive games? Is that something you guys are betting big on going forward? I mean, it feels like they're fewer and fewer that are happening.
Well, we've got a great relationship with the third parties, but we realize the cost of development is huge. It's a diverse market. It's very difficult to entice somebody to build a game specifically for your platform. It happens, but I mean, we saw that years ago, and that's why we invested so much in our first-party studios. We have the largest development studios, bigger than our competitors combined, and that gives us the ability to create the Beyonds, to create The Last of Us, and to reduce the dependency on third party, because we know it's difficult for them to be focused on one platform.
No, I've said it before. I think SHU and the Worldwide Studio Organizations is the best first-party group in the business, and you guys showed that yesterday with some phenomenal games. I can't wait to play on the platform.
Really appreciate it, Jack.
Awesome. All right, well, Jack, have a
Thank
great
you.
E3. Thanks for taking the time to stop by.